Chapter 411, Huge Beast Wreaking Havoc. A dark shadow covered up the sky and the Great Wall University's energy shield was forcibly compressed and deformed. It caved inward and a humongous shadow forcibly squeezed its way in. The massive figure floated over everyone's head, appearing as if it wanted to crush everything before its eyes. Layers of shadows shrouded everyone's hearts and they were unable to summon any will to resist. This monster was 10,000 zhang in size, like a huge island. Its entire body was forged from metal and emitted strong ferocity. It was also extremely hideous, like a huge tentacle monster that had over 10,000 tentacles. Each of the tentacles was thick like huge pillars, agile like snakes, and waved about in the air. The moment something got close, they would be crushed no matter how sturdy they were. The mechanical giant had over 1,000 huge eyes that shot countless beams of red rays out, attacking both friend and foe. The red beams were as thick as rainbows, shooting out incessantly. They were densely packed and came plunging down like rain, not sparing even the spirit mechanical beasts. The spirit mechanical beasts were instantly penetrated and exploded. The scattered remains were grabbed by the many tentacles and brought into the monster's stomach. It started chewing. Those interstellar warriors were insignificant, like ants before this huge spirit monster, and great casualties were suffered. Their bodies of flesh and blood were roasted into chars by the red beams and slapped into meat dregs by the tentacles' lashes. Even the micromechas they were wearing were smashed, thrown into the big mouth that was like a black hole, and engulfed cleanly. Nothing was left behind. The mechanical tentacles kept sending out many energy waves, electromagnetic waves, nuclear explosions, and gravitational fields. Wherever the mechanical monster passed by, the university's energy fields were completely thrown into disarray. The energies of the micromechas, small-scaled space shuttles, and many machinery weapons, all were thrown into disarray from the disturbances. All of them exploded in space. Without the micromechas, humans' carbon-based bodies were unable to survive for long in outer space. Many people weren't killed by the tentacles but had died from suffocation in outer space or frozen into ice. Under the metal tentacles' crazy lashings, the human stringent formation was thrown into disarray. The interstellar warriors were forced to back off repeatedly. With this humongous mechanical beast entering the battlefield, it was as if a huge koan had entered a small pond. With just a casual turn of its body, it would crush many fishes. Its big mouth kept engulfing non-stop and nothing was left behind. Both spirit mechanical beasts and human warriors fled in all directions, no longer caring about the battle. If they were slow in escaping, they would instantly land into the huge beast's mouth and were engulfed, with not even dregs left behind. The huge spirit mechanical monster had completely dominated the entire battlefield single-handedly, conquering the starry sky and suppressing everything. Ferocious mechanical armies scattered and the stringent human formation broke down. They were like a collapsed mountain, unable to put up any resistance. Facing this huge spirit monster, everyone wore astonished expressions. What kind of terrifying monster did the spirit race let out? The huge spirit monster came crashing over, smashing toward the Great Wall University. It used its massive metal body, wanting to crumble the Great Wall University's fortress. The massive black shadow came pressing down from a great height and was unstoppable. Seeing that the Great Wall University's fortress was about to be knocked down, everyone inside and outside the Great Wall University gasped and the situation was in great chaos. If the fortress really were to be knocked, even if it wouldn't collapse, as long as it received damage, the energy shield that fended off the invasion from countless spirits would be greatly affected. Its intensity would plunge greatly. When that time came, the Great Wall University's defense would probably undergo a series of chain reactions and completely give way. One would be able to imagine the outcome for the interstellar humans then. It would be extremely tragic. That huge spirit monster is about to come colliding. What should we do? Is there no one else who can stop it? Let's run. The black shadow came pressing down and some people with weaker minds fell into a great panic. Looking at the huge black shadow crushing toward them caused their heart and soul to collapse. Was it impossible to fend off? At a corner of the battlefield, Feng Lin looked solemnly at the huge spirit monster wreaking havoc. His countenance was extremely grim. From the moment this huge spirit monster appeared, he sensed that things weren't right. He had the feeling that there was an impending disaster and he instinctively fled. It was only because of this that he managed to dodge the fierce prowess of the huge monster and wasn't implicated. The defeated troops were like a collapsed mountain. Humanity's front line was instantly shattered. Feng Lin's heart uncontrollably sank to the very bottom when he saw the fleeing figures. Intense auras of despair permeated the battlefield. Everyone within and outside of the Great Wall University was shaken up, unable to summon any will to put up resistance at all. It seems that it's our turn. A group of big shots at the top of the Great Wall University's fortress looked at the huge spirit monster. They looked at each other, releasing majestic auras that were like the deep abyss and a tall mountain. One marshal couldn't help but let out a deep bellow, feeling strong killing intent rising within him. As marshals, not only did they lead their own military unit, but their battle prowess was also considered to be the greatest amongst the interstellar humans. They were the core pillars that humanity had against the extraterrestrial races. A few of the marshals had their eyes filled with cold killing intent and seemed as if they were about to make a move. Hold on. The interstellar warfare marshal who stood at the very front spoke up and organized their attacks. This huge spirit monster will need some time if it wants to completely crush our line of defense. We can wait a little longer. We may be able to help these interstellar warriors and the Great Wall University for now, but we won't be able to help them forever. In the end, things will have to fall on these youngsters. The more desperate the situation is, the greater the potential true geniuses tend to be able to erupt. This will bring out the real elites. Let's wait a bit until the very last moment. It won't be too late for us to make a move after we see that things really can't work out. The big shots nodded upon hearing this. Although this was too dangerous to the interstellar cultivators on the battlefield, some sacrifice was needed to ensure humanity's future. This was the universe's dark laws of the jungle. A true genius was better than 100 mediocre characters. A life or death battle between races was never decided by the number of people on the lowest rung, but by true experts. The appearance of a top-notch cultivator who could suppress the universe was stronger than an entire army. This was what the interstellar humans really needed. Things mustn't be allowed to go on like this. They must gather everyone's powers to have a chance of winning. The atmosphere of despair permeated the sky, but Feng Lin's mind started to move quickly. He was unwilling to accept defeat like this and kept trying to think of a plan. He looked at the many faces that had turned numb from horror and frowned. If he wished to turn the tables around, he'd have to awaken these people's will. An idea popped up in Feng Lin's mind. He used mental transmissions to communicate with them, and a voice that came from the bottom of his heart instantly resonated in the hearts of all interstellar humans on all corners of the battlefield. A shout that rose from what seemed to be dead silence was like the light from dawn that cut across the darkness, illuminating the path before them. It awakened hope, and everyone couldn't help but listen to it. The voice was powerful and filled with unshakable determination. It was like a shout amidst raging waves, causing everyone to calm down. All interstellar warriors, Great Wall University's students, and comrades of mankind. Please listen to me. We can't and mustn't retreat. Before us is the Great Wall University, the first line of defense for mankind. There's nowhere for us to back off to. This monster might be terrifying, but we must not let it get close to our Great Wall University. Once the Great Wall University collapsed, humanity's line of defense will break down completely. If the spirit race were to invade into our universe, our comrades who are still very weak won't be able to retaliate and would be massacred. We have our brothers, our friends, and our family there. These are precious things that we aren't willing to lose even if we have to sacrifice our lives. Every interstellar cultivator has risen up by using a tremendous amount of cultivating resources available to mankind. The greater our capabilities were, the stronger would our responsibilities be. Now is the time where our race's survival is being threatened, so it's time for us to step forward and return to what the human race had given to us. Since ancient times, the Great Wall University has been protecting the Milky Way and protecting mankind. I'd like to implore everyone to not feel afraid and to remember. It's my race, I'll protect it. Note, 1 Zhang equals 3,200 meter. Chapter 412, It's my race, I'll protect it. It's my race, I'll protect it. A shout rang out, resonating in everyone's hearts incessantly, as if breaking through the sky. Every single word said was very clear, enlightening all of them. Right now, it was the strongest voice that was unprecedented in the course of the interstellar human's history. Even ice-cold blood was ignited and became boiling hot. Great ardor seethed in the hearts of all interstellar humans on the battlefield, causing their bodies to tremble. That's right. It's my race, I'll protect it. When our race's survival is at risk, it's time for us to step forth. We're interstellar cultivators. If we don't step forth, who across all the interstellar humans would be able to? In this battle, regardless if it was the interstellar warriors or Great Wall University's students, be they male or female, all of them gradually recovered. They exchanged glances amongst themselves and their gazes became unprecedentedly determined. The marshals couldn't help but appear to be wearing admiring expressions when they heard this. Who's the one shouting out this battle cry? Excellent, excellent, excellent. This is the kind of backbone that we should have as interstellar humans. Battle, battle, battle. We, the interstellar humans, have walked out of the solar system, clearing the Milky Way galaxy within 1,000 years and crushed countless extraterrestrial races. How could we possibly be afraid of a battle? Regardless of how difficult the situation is, we mustn't give up. Only the ones with such resolve are the true talents that our interstellar humans require. The marshals were full of praises for this person. They were increasingly curious about the owner of the battle cry. However, the interstellar battlefield was far too big and there were many interstellar warriors and Great Wall University's students. It was hard to detect the direction of that mental transmissions. Despite the fact that they were very strong, they were still unable to find out where the voice came from. Only the interstellar warfare marshal who was standing in the very middle locked his gaze onto Feng Lin. The corners of his lips curled up into a hint of a mysterious smile that was filled with admiration. We mustn't retreat, nor do we have anywhere to retreat to. But facing this huge mechanical monster, what on earth should we do? After experiencing the initial ardor, everyone was immediately stumped after they regained their senses. Looking at the vicious appearance of that huge monster's densely packed metallic tentacles, they didn't know where to stay and felt an immense sense of helplessness. Facing such a huge monster, anyone, no matter how strong their minds were, would waver. At this moment, the deep and powerful voice spoke up again. It was like the shout of a warrior amidst despair, facing against the tempest. Comrades, although this huge spirit monster is very terrifying, it's not as if we have no means of retaliating. The mythological genes are the precious relics that our forefathers have left for us. They possess endless possibilities. If everyone unites, anything is possible. When we put our genetic powers together, even the universe would be shaken by our, let alone a single spirit life form. A single person may be weak, but by putting our powers together, we can get the stars to revolve and the universe will be overthrown by us. His words were strong and powerful. Each and every word was the strongest voice that came from the bottom of his heart, like a tempest that wanted to sweep everyone's heart and soul. Silence fell on the battlefield. The huge mechanical monster came pressing down with an indomitable force. While the many interstellar warriors dodged, they also paid attention to the voice, feeling deeply moved. This was Feng Lin's voice. A group of cultivators led by Zhao Yui stood in the air, emitting intense baleful auras. When they heard this voice, their eyes lit up. Everyone fell into deep thought. Mythological genes were the treasures that ancient humans had left behind for the interstellar humans. They held the transcendent paths of endless evolutions. If one could fully uncover them, the powers they could obtain would be limitless. There would be endless possibilities. Although they were currently weak, if everyone were to join forces, they might not be completely hopeless. However, how should they go about doing this? If they wanted to amass everyone's powers, there must be a person who had an extremely deep understanding of the mythological genes. Only with this would they be able to unify everyone's powers. After figuring out the first crucial factor, a new problem appeared. Mythological genes were extremely profound and they were still considered to be like a blank piece of paper to the interstellar humans. There were too many mysteries, and who would dare to say that they had a thorough and complete grasp over mythological genes? This was a difficult question that troubled everyone. Everyone felt troubled and couldn't find any way to resolve this issue. No one replied even after very long, and the atmosphere became extremely heavy. The seething ardor they felt started to cool down gradually. However, there was no point in continuing to remain silent like this. At this moment, someone must step forth. A valiant-looking figure stepped forth and let out a loud bellow. Zhao Yui is willing to lead the true martial society to battle. As one of the strongest experts amongst the younger generation in the university, her appearance immediately attracted everyone's gaze. A group of strong and capable-looking cultivators followed behind her, and she herself had a powerful aura as she faced the rest with an air of arrogance. Even though she was the Great Wall University's renowned martial queen, she was a woman. Countless men's faces flushed up to see that the first person who took the initiative to step forth was actually a female. With there being so many students in the Great Wall Army and the military, how could they possibly allow a female to charge at the very front? I, Eli, am willing to lead the Mechanical Manufacturing Society to battle. And our Genetic Modification Society. The Martial Academy's Sword Dao Society is ready for battle. A single call received responses from all places. Zhao Yui urged on everyone by setting herself as an example. Countless interstellar cultivators stepped forward. The smallest spark can burn an entire plane. Suddenly, raging auras rose on the interstellar battlefield, presenting a seething state. At this moment, a cool voice was sent to Feng Lin. Feng Lin, just do your utmost. No matter what, we mustn't let this huge mechanical monster charge to the Great Wall University. Feng Lin nodded, understanding her determination. In fact, he was thinking the same. Feng Lin went into deep thought for a moment before he continued to speak up. Although everyone has agreed, we mustn't fight recklessly. Or else it would turn out to be pointless sacrifices. Our individual strength was minuscule compared to its strength. Therefore, we must gather everyone to be able to have the power to fight against it. Mythological genes come in a great variety of mysterious forms, and it's impossible to combine the genetic powers of countless cultivators. Mythological genes within a short period. However, even though there are many varieties, the principles behind them are still the same. In the end, mythological genes' genetic powers are generally distinguished by 3 types based on their attributes: attack, defense, and mystery. We can split ourselves up into 3 formations, with the first one being the defense formation. Interstellar cultivators who excel in defense will stand at the foremost, using mechanics and material defense to slow down or even stop the monster's attacks. The second formation will be the attacking formation, using many powerful attacks against the huge monster, destroying its body and forcing it to reveal its flaws. The third formation would be the absolute kill formation, using all sorts of mysterious genetic powers to perform the final blow on the flaws that had been brought out by the attacking formation. Feng Lin's thoughts were very clear, and he came up with a method to unify many mythological genes together on an elementary level, within a short period. Although the method was very coarse, it was currently the best method thus far. It was almost impossible to make use of every single person's powers to an extreme within a short period. They could only split themselves up by their genetic powers categories and then group together to unify their powers, gathering together at one point to unleash the prowess. These people were all famous elites in the universe, and they soon understood the essence of this battle technique. It was true that this was the simplest and most effective method in their repertoire at the moment. There was a huge chance that this could work. They split up into groups based on their gene attributes and formed a stringent defense before the huge mechanical monster. Their gazes were unprecedentedly determined, as if they were prepared for their deaths. "It's my race, I'll protect it." Chapter 413. It is easy to shake the starry space, but it isn't so easy to shake the humans of the interstellar era. The three formations were instantly formed using the flesh and blood of cultivators. All of them were on their guard and exuded a towering presence. The gazes of everyone on the battlefield were as resolute as iron, no signs of wavering could be detected in the slightest. Their will was as secure as a city protected by metallic walls and a moat of boiling water. Staring at that gigantic mechanical monster rushing over, a decisive look could be seen on the faces of everyone. An unprecedented sense of unification appeared, as they worked together with a common purpose and were of one heart in battle. The situation on the battlefield was no longer the same as the past, where the battlefield had descended into chaos. Now, all the small teams and societies formed formations ignoring their races, academies, or origins. They grouped via genetic powers and fought together, forming a structure consisting of three formations. Firstly, the first row, the defensive formation. Numerous figures clad in micromecha armor stood at the forefront. They were like steel walls, blocking the others from harm. They stood strong in the midst of opposition, without any gaps between them. The gazes of everyone turned over, paying attention there. That giant mechanical beast continued over. Its speed wasn't reduced because of the actions of the cultivators. It barged over with unstoppable momentum. No matter what these interstellar humans were planning, in its eyes, they were all as insignificant as ants. The giant mechanical monster seemed so ferocious that it was tough for humans to stop it. "It's here." The humans of the first formation couldn't help but feel their hearts trembling with fear. There was involuntarily a disturbance within their ranks. Feng Lin and Zhao Yui stood together in the third formation and glanced over. It wasn't that the two of them were afraid of death. This was already discussed beforehand. The two of them both had ultimate killing techniques that could be extremely useful at the end. Although no one knew what Zhao Yui's ultimate techniques were, Feng Lin's crimson gold cinnabar pills were ready to be launched at any time. Under the pressure of the giant mechanical monster, the first formation was trembling and looked to be on the verge of crumbling. The situation didn't look good. This couldn't continue on. Feng Lin glanced at the situation as his heart stirred. He made a prompt decision and roared ferociously. For the first formation, those with genetic powers capable of controlling metal should act instantly. Form a steel composition framework to form a wall. His voice was low yet filled with power, ringing in the hearts of everyone. "It's that voice." The cultivators in the first formation seemed to have found a pillar they could depend on. Their hearts slowly calmed down. Feng Lin's lips moved. He transmitted his voice via his spirit force, giving instructions to everyone. "Rise." At the next moment, all the cultivators started to move. Steel manipulation. Magnetic control. Metal reconstruction. Rumble. The fluctuations of all sorts of mythological gene powers entangled in the air. Powerful currents of energy mixed together, forming a three-dimensional spider web structure of steel that was abnormally strong. There were even some who sent out robots to continue repairing the gaps between the steel structure, causing it to become heavier as well as incredibly thick and solid, forming a huge formation. Very soon, a steel structure of over 300 kilograms in length appeared in the air, blocking the mechanical monster. "Fill the concrete material." Feng Lin's voice rang out again. The cultivators were all intelligent people. Instantly understanding that Feng Lin wanted to build a wall of reinforced concrete to block the mechanical monster from advancing, one couldn't help but say that this was indeed a good solution. That mechanical beast's body was too large, thus, its movements were not very convenient. Therefore, even an immobile wall could be considered a huge obstacle to it. It could only barrel through the wall with great force in order to continue advancing. Although this plan looked good on paper, in truth, it was quite flimsy. The difficulty of building such a huge wall could very well be imagined. However, humans wouldn't hesitate upon facing death, no matter how difficult the tasks were. None of them were indecisive. They didn't ask any questions and began to operate. Soil formation. Soil wood generation. Transforming soil into stone. Soil, earth, and other substances adhered to the steel structure, enveloping it, becoming an extremely tough reinforced wall of concrete. This wall had the support of a steel structure. It was incomparably thick and difficult to shake. But things weren't finished yet. After that, Feng Lin spoke, "Now, everyone, use your various techniques and abilities to enhance the strength of the wall." It was impossible for Feng Lin to know the specific genetic abilities of each person. The abilities of everyone had to be linked together to form an effective defense. Hence, with his understanding of mythological genes, he chose the most effective method. Feng Lin first asked the cultivators to form a crude but effective defense. After that, he told them to use their various techniques and abilities to enhance the strength of the wall, greatly boosting its defensive capabilities. One couldn't help but say that this was one of the simplest and most effective methods. Although the body of the mechanical monster was extremely large and it was ferociously barging over, its movements weren't nimble at all. Just a one-layer wall could obstruct it and it had no way to evade this. Even if it forcibly shifted its path, they would have also gained time and their objective of stalling it would be a success. Frigid ice freeze. Flames congealment. Particles reconstruction. The cultivators all acted together. All sorts of genetic powers were employed to strengthen the wall, converting the attributes of the materials. This originally weak wall was now strengthened. The internal structure solidified together, and its defenses were greatly boosted. Boom, boom, boom. The steel wall instantly rose, taking form in the starry space. The cultivators worked together with their will as one, granting them the strength to break through everything as a miracle was born. The mechanical monster also felt that something was wrong. Its eyes flickered with blood-red light, terrifying to the extreme. Although it treated humans as ants, if there were enough ants, even an elephant would be bitten to death. It was impossible for it to allow these insignificant humans to do whatever they wanted like before, and it reacted swiftly, sending out thousands of tentacles as thick as pillars forward. For a time, black shadows filled the starry space. The movements of the tentacles were like a group of demons and devils dancing in riotous revelry. The impact caused the steel wall to tremble incessantly as earth, stone, and metal parts flew through the air, crumbling from the impact. Endure. As Feng Lin's voice rang out, those warriors and students of the Great Wall University felt their faces turning red from the exertion. They gritted their teeth and continued to persist. Rise, rise, rise. If one layer of wall wasn't enough, let there be 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers then. Even if they would lose their lives today, they would definitely not permit this mechanical monster to even take a single step inside the Great Wall University. With their previous experience, this time, Feng Lin didn't need to give any more instructions. These people were all elites of humanity and naturally knew how to cooperate. After building the steel structures, they would fill it with materials and enhance the overall durability and defense. Everyone split up. They operated based on these 3 steps and weren't stingy as they consumed their genetic potions to replenish their strength, using all their genetic powers to build the gigantic walls. Boom, boom, boom. The starry space trembled as numerous walls were built, becoming thick and substantial ramparts. If the first layer wall was broken through, there was still the second layer, the third layer. As long as their genetic powers weren't used up, they could augment the defenses of the walls endlessly. Some of those cultivators were already pale from the exertion. Their bodies trembled, almost nearing the point of complete exhaustion. But even so, no matter how terrifying the giant mechanical monster was, no matter how much force its tentacles contained, it still had no way to break through the walls. This monster that seemed so terrifying before was actually successfully obstructed. It was easy to shake the starry space, but it wasn't so easy to shake the humans of the interstellar era, let alone the army of the Great Wall University. It was by far more difficult. Chapter 4:14, Far more difficult to shake the army. 1, 2, 3. A total of 9 layers of wall appeared in the starry space. They were imposing and majestic, seemingly unshakable, and had no gaps between them. Boom, boom, boom. And before the walls, the giant mechanical monster was obstructed. Its tentacles moved about wildly as its eyes flared crimson. It was completely enraged. Numerous energy waves transformed into incomparably thick pillars of light, blasting outwards, causing the soil and stones on the wall to fly off from the impact. The explosive sounds were like thunder blasting through the skies. However, the wall had a total of 9 layers. For a time, it was extremely well fortified and not so easy to break through. Excellent, we've finally managed to block this monster. Even for the spirit race, it's nothing but a foolish fantasy to want to shake our Great Wall University. It's impossible that we, interstellar humans, would lose. When they saw the gigantic figure finally being blocked, a loud cheering could be heard within and without the Great Wall University. Everyone was in high spirits. Many marshals nodded when they saw the scene, their faces were filled with admiration. Originally, they were prepared to act once the warriors and students couldn't deal with the situation any longer. But now, the performance of the warriors and students truly didn't disappoint them. The power of mythological genes could be classified as having fantastic oddities of every description. They weren't something humans could use up. Now, they actually managed to react appropriately according to the changes in the situation and found an elementary way to combine the strengths of everyone together, obstructing the giant mechanical monster's invasion. With these new warriors and students, was there even any worry that humanity would have no future? Regardless of whoever the one to stir the hearts of the army, or the unified wills of everyone when they worked together, this was the basis of why humanity could establish their own footing in the jungle of the so-called universe. These warriors and students were the strong seeds of humanity's future. They would continue to grow stronger and stronger, becoming the backbone of humanity. It was precisely so that those traitors to humanity were so detestable. Even these juniors were giving it their all, yet those in the upper echelons were impeding them, selling their own race out, and harming their comrades. The traitors truly deserved death. In the past, the devil training students were almost wiped out. That ending after the challenge was truly a shocking scene. Who would have thought that as the #1 line of defense of humanity, the Great Wall University was actually infiltrated by the spirit race? Selling one's own race for the sake of glory, dragging out their ignoble existences. Those traitors were truly not fit to be humans. When they thought of this, the eyes of the elders from the Great Wall University flickered with intense killing intent. Although the university was cheering, those on the battlefield weren't so relaxed. After constructing the 9-layered wall, the people in the defensive formation all had pale faces. Their bodies trembled, and their genetic powers were almost drained to the point of utter exhaustion. Immediately send out reinforcements, escort the warriors in the defensive formation back to the university. Feng Lin gave a command, causing those who were basking in joy to wake up. Only then did they realize that the true fearsomeness of the battle had just started. It was too early to be happy. Numerous reinforcements in flying shuttles were sent out from the Great Wall University, instantly sending the warriors in the defensive formation back to the safety of the university. They were completely drained and were now trying to recover. The situation returned to its earlier calm. Everyone began to observe the battlefield for changes. Although the defensive formation team had retreated, the giant wall they created was still in the starry space, blocking the giant mechanical monster solidly. The metallic tentacles contained crushing power and continued to smash over. These attacks blasted into the immensely thick wall, yet they failed to shatter it. But without the augmentation from genetic powers, although the gigantic wall was thick and solid, it would crumble apart sooner or later. It could only obstruct the giant mechanical monster for a time, and the wall couldn't last forever. And upon facing the horde of spirit mechanical monsters, defending passively clearly wasn't the best solution. In the battlefield of the starry space, everyone could see that the giant mechanical monster was now completely berserk. It was extremely ferocious and its strength didn't decline at all. Its gaze also turned increasingly sinister. Attack. Attack is the best defense. Attacking was the correct path. Comrades, those in the defensive formation team has already accomplished their mission. They are unprecedentedly successful. In that case, it's now time for our attack formation to show our worth. They managed to block the giant mechanical monster, so our attacking team cannot lose out to them in spirit. We absolutely cannot let the efforts of our brothers and sisters be for nothing. The people of the attacking formation stood out. They were long prepared in their hearts and were filled with the desire to do battle, unwilling to let their comrades outshine them. Their battle intents were as fiery as fire, burning brilliantly, clearly extremely difficult to quench. The defensive formation team had succeeded in their mission, and it gave everyone confidence. Their battle intents were ignited, and all earlier fear they felt toward the giant mechanical monster was tossed to the back of their minds. The heart of the army had been established. Upon seeing this scene, those elders of the Great Wall University all nodded respectively. However, Feng Lin suddenly spoke. And unexpectedly, his words were like pouring cold water on the blazing fire in the hearts of everyone. Maintain your calmness. The giant mechanical monster is incomparably terrifying. Its body is made of the strongest alloy in the universe, and human strength wouldn't be able to contend against it. What's important now is for us to destroy those metallic tentacles, or we would truly have no way to defeat it forever. These words would clearly cause their morale to plummet. It wasn't that there were no intelligent people on the battlefield. But after experiencing the fearsomeness of the giant mechanical monster, how would they still dare to give their ideas? Go at it together. Everyone glanced at each other and rushed forward. The body of the mechanical monster was too gigantic, like a metallic round sphere. Its movements were awkward, but it had over 1,000 tentacles and had no dead angles. From some perspective, it had no flaws. Since it had no flaws, they had to forcibly make a flaw. Those tentacles were the limbs of the mechanical monster. Once they were destroyed, the monster would be akin to a tiger that had no fangs. At that time, it would be at their mercy. If it was before, this plan would undoubtedly be courting death. It wouldn't work at all. But now, with the aid of the gigantic wall, the giant mechanical monster couldn't advance nor retreat. It was like a giant target for everyone. Numerous figures clad in micromecha armor flew through the air, their backs emitting flames as they arced through space like shooting stars. They had no reservations as they rushed at the giant mechanical monster. The giant monster was still attacking the wall mindlessly like it didn't know what fatigue was. Earth and stones flew about as some parts of the metallic structure crumbled. Right now, a large hole suddenly appeared on the wall. The impact of the blows added up. If this continued, even if the wall had 9 layers, it would crumble apart sooner or later. This can't continue. Once it penetrates through the giant wall, we would no longer have any method to stop it from rushing to the Great Wall University. We must kill it here. Since these people were in the attacking team, there was naturally no soft-hearted cultivators among them. Their faces twisted with savage expressions as they prepared to fight. But what should they do exactly? The monster had too many tentacles that were dancing wildly in the air. The sight of them couldn't help because the scalps of those who looked at it to be numb. They felt that they had no opportunities to attack. Our cultivation base is limited, so we shouldn't clash directly with the monster. Let's borrow the giant wall and use it as a barrier. Whenever one of its tentacles attacked the wall, we will destroy that tentacle. If a pair of tentacles came, we shall destroy two. If 100 came, we will destroy the 100. Phone Lin's voice rang out with power. The confusion everyone felt cleared away. They exchanged glances and nodded as they started to act. They stuck close to the wall, didn't evade or attack hastily, specifically waiting for opportunities to aim at those tentacles attacking the wall while ignoring the other tentacles. With the combination of strength from everyone, the strength of their attacks evolved qualitatively. Decomposition technique. Entropy destruction. Absolute frost. All sorts of abilities that could destroy the basic microstructures of matter were unleashed. Even the alloy mechanical monster wasn't able to withstand these attacks. Its tentacles exploded one after another, landing everywhere. The mechanical monster was injured heavily and it was now completely enraged. Its attacks grew increasingly frenzied. It wasn't so easy for the giant monster to break through all 9 layers of the wall, and during this time, the people of the attack formation team used the terrain to their advantage, continuously destroying the monster's tentacles. The warriors of the Great Wall Army were elites among the elites. It wasn't so easy to shake the humans of the interstellar era, but it was by far harder to shake the army of the Great Wall University. The warriors on the battlefield and in the university all had a resolve in their eyes. Even if the spirit race came with billions of attackers to pressure them, they wouldn't retreat and would teach the spirit race a painful lesson. The army of our Great Wall University isn't made from soft dough. Chapter 4:15 Arrival of a Great Calamity. Boom, boom, boom. The metal tentacles were as thick as pillars yet as nimble as snakes. They continued to slam out, smashing into the giant wall. There were over 10 tentacles bundled together and took the form of a drill bit that continued on their way, drilling toward the giant wall and wanting to create a huge hole. Boom, boom, boom. Energy blasts shot forth constantly as genetic power gushed out. The metallic tentacles crumbled and withered in the fire, their particles exploded. The toughness of the metallic tentacles was exceptional, not inferior to the strongest alloy humanity had discovered. Ordinary attacks would be ineffective. Only transcendence force from mythological genes could affect the tentacles, causing them true harm. Many cultivators in the attacking formation team understood the theory of mythological genes. They unleashed all sorts of bizarre abilities and destroyed the metallic tentacles from the most basic microscopic atoms. No matter how tough the tentacles were. As long as its toughness didn't reach the basic cosmic matter law, it would always consist of atoms and particles. No matter how tough it was, as long as its internal structure was damaged, it could be destroyed. Everyone discovered this weakness that wasn't a weakness. They ignored the consumption of their genetic force and continued unleashing their abilities, attacking from the microscopic level. Numerous thick tentacles exploded into countless tiny metallic fragments. The blood that flowed out was a substance like an engine oil. The giant mechanical monster was heavily injured. Its eyes shone with a bloody light as even more tentacles ferociously smacked over. There were over thousands of tentacles. Just over 100 of them could form a huge web or take the form of a giant fist, or a drill bit. There were all sorts of forms as they slammed over. Under the control of the mechanical monster, the flexible and tough tentacles were capable of countless transformations. If this was still in the past, there would be no reliance. Regardless of the warriors or students from the university, they were no different from ants before this mechanical monster. If the tentacles hit, they would be crushed into minced meat just like their previous comrades. But with the existence of the 9-layered wall, they had found a tool of reliance for them in the starry space. The wall was like a gigantic turtle shell protecting them. As long as this giant wall didn't break, No matter how ferocious the attacks of the mechanical monster were, it wouldn't be able to injure them. With this stronghold, they could even hold the pass against 10,000 enemies. Rumbling sounds kept ringing out when the monster attacked it, but it still held solidly. Many cultivators of the attack formation team stood above the giant wall. There were all sorts of medicinal substances in their mouths that enabled them to rapidly recover their vitality and genetic force. Genetic power from their abilities stirred the starry space, and the energy torrent gushed out like a flood of water, all of them slamming into the gigantic monster. Although the mechanical monster was extremely huge and had a very tough body whereby it was hard for them to damage it, but given that it was in a passive position of being attacked, the small injuries would accumulate, and its tentacles eventually were destroyed and fell from the air. For a time, the guns and cannons of the attacking team blasted out, causing the giant mechanical monster to tremble from the impact. It was unable to advance. Right now, they had a complete advantage over the situation of the battlefield. We blocked it, we blocked it. The monster won't be able to get near the university any longer. We shall destroy the giant mechanical monster alongside the mechanical beast army of the spirit race. With everyone working together, the battle situation slowly shifted, making it so that they held the advantage now. Countless people within and without the Great Wall University were rejoicing. This scene was broadcasted to all of humanity in the universe and created an uproar of jubilation. As expected of the pillar of humanity, the Great Wall Army. With the Great Wall University being present, the foundations of us humans would be like a solid boulder in our star region. Nothing can shake us. Long live the Great Wall. Although the majority of people were cheering when they saw this scene, there were still some cool-headed people calmly observing the changes to the battlefield. Through these 1,000 years, humans encountered over 100 interstellar wars, and the duration of every war would last a long time. The spirit race traversed through star systems, rushing over with ferocious momentum. Thus, it was impossible for them to give up so easily. The war had only just begun. Although humans seemed to be occupying the advantage now, as long as they didn't become the final victor, there would always be another variable that could tip the balance of the battlefield. No one could be sure of the final ending. And Feng Lin was clearer about the situation than most of the people, as he was personally on the battlefield. He was also observing all the changes on the battlefield carefully. Could this giant mechanical monster be so clumsy? It had nothing to aid its mobility. Although there had been no signs of changes to its attacks and movements since it appeared, Feng Lin had to consider all possible changes to the situation if he wanted to combine the strengths of everyone, so they could defeat the strong with the weak. After all, the humans now were like dancing on a tightrope and walking on a bladed mountain. They couldn't afford to be careless. If there really were changes, they might not be able to react in time if they didn't consider things carefully. The current situation would collapse immediately, and it would be too late to save it. Although they had the advantage now, if they couldn't convert this advantage into victory, the scene might be nice to watch, but it was in truth useless. The energy of this giant mechanical monster seemed endless. If they continued to be deadlocked against it, they would have no chance of victory. Hence, when it was injured, they must try to take its life. The attacking team already occupied the advantage, they would naturally seize it and unleashed all their killing techniques ruthlessly. Their genetic power surged out like it was a free buffet, all the attacks were targeted at the mechanical monster. For a time, the gigantic mechanical monster couldn't do anything. It howled in anger but still had no way to advance. The advantage the cultivators held grew even greater, like they were getting increasingly nearer to victory. Almost half of the tentacles of the mechanical monster were destroyed. It was now like a tiger without fangs or claws and could only posture by roaring angrily. Were they finally going to succeed? Countless gazes gathered here, filled with anticipation. Things were concluded just like that? Yet, Feng Lin didn't relax. For some reason, he actually felt a hint of wariness in his heart. Wind from an empty case, there would definitely be a reason for that. He was walking on the Sun Wukong mythological path and had fused the Tao Heart gene with the Spirit gene. His senses were extremely sharp and he could faintly sense something bad was about to happen. Despite all the obstruction, the mechanical monster still pushed its way through, trying its best to rush forward. Could it really think that just by suffering some damage, it would be able to rush into the Great Wall University? One must note that there were many marshals in the Great Wall University, and all of them were extremely powerful cultivators who could travel through space by virtue of their powerful bodies alone. Their life level had already evolved into a higher tier. Although they were still humans, they could already be considered as another life form. The spirit race was an intelligent alien race, and they couldn't have possibly neglected this point. As time passed, he felt increasingly uneasy. There seemed to be something wrong with the situation. And at this moment, the people of the attacking team, upon seeing that they occupied a huge advantage, didn't mask the impatience in their hearts at all. There were actually people rushing down the giant wall, wanting to gain the contribution points of killing this gigantic mechanical monster. Advancing prematurely due to greed. Not good. Feng Lin's expression changed, the feeling of danger in his heart intensified as he roared. Rumble. At the next instant, the situation of the battlefield changed drastically. The eyes of the monster shone with a red light, and its metallic tentacles actually gathered and fused, becoming larger and thicker. The flexible tentacles gradually became extremely tough metallic pillars that acted like hands and legs. The monster transformed into a giant beast with 6 legs. Its legs spread open as its movements became unbelievably agile while rushing forward. There were no signs of its earlier clumsiness as it began to climb the wall. What? Those people who rushed forward couldn't react in time. The giant beast's rush directly smashed them into pieces and they turned into cosmic dust. Boom, boom, boom. The mechanical beast started to run up the wall. Each step created a shocking footprint as the entire wall trembled from the impact. Its tentacles retracted into its body, and a sturdy metallic shell formed around it, enabling it to better withstand the impact of the genetic powers. Despite so, many cracks appeared on the shell, revealing shocking wounds. But within its body, numerous tiny machines resembling cells gushed toward the area of injuries and constantly replenished the destroyed parts, allowing the monster to have an impossibly quick recovery rate. And simultaneously, when it was recovering, the mechanical beast directly rushed over. All the cultivators in the attacking team felt their hearts sank into the bottom of the valley. A great calamity had arrived. Chapter 4:16, A Ray of Hope. Bang, bang, bang. The wall trembled. The tremors could be felt under everyone's feet. The originally tight formation couldn't help but slacken. The mechanical beast took huge strides, moving over. Its figure was as large as a mountain as it smashed its way over, exuding overwhelming pressure, causing everyone's breathing to be hurried. Numerous large eyes grew all around its body, shining with a piercing red light. The red beams shot out were incomparably hot and were like a light sword wanting to slice everything in their way. Wherever it passed by, the steel and stones were crumbled from the impact. This sudden change in the situation caused all the cultivators to be stunned. A strong sense of danger and unease appeared in their hearts. No one had imagined that the giant mechanical monster, whose size was comparable to an asteroid, could instantly transit into this form, invoking a huge change to the situation. This was simply unimaginable and illogical. No one could have predicted this. But the truth just occurred before their eyes, and they had to deal with it. The monster transformed into a giant with 1,000 eyes. Its movements became extremely nimble as its speed increased. The sturdy and immobile wall could no longer block it. It would be able to break through the wall sooner or later. No good, we must stop it. We cannot allow it to cross the wall and attack the university. We will protect the Great Wall University. All sorts of voices rang out from the attacking team. The cultivators unleashed their attacks with their full strength. Heat implosion. Momentum rush. Gravity control. Genetic powers were like strands of invisible laws that intersected in the starry space, distorting the area as great amounts of energy blasted out. The cannons also fired unceasingly, causing flames to arc through the sky. Fireworks were everywhere, the energy torrents instantly engulfed the mechanical giant. Boom! A thunderous blast suddenly rang out. The chest of the giant monster suddenly cracked open as light radiated forth. A sphere-shaped energy ball blasted out, and it resembled a small sun and radiated boundless fire and heat. It felt incomparably violent and intense. Particle torrents, electromagnetic fluctuation, the temperature instantly soared to over 10,000 degrees. The surrounding space was instantly bombarded, not a single thing remained. Under this attack, all objects crumbled to their most basic particle structure, turning into cosmic dust. These genetic powers were considered in the realms of cosmic energy. They were also dispersed with nothing left behind. The particle torrents and their impactful burst gushed over. "Quickly evade," the attacking team exclaimed. They were all thrown into chaos because of this, but at this moment, it was too late to evade. The several hundred figures at the front row had no time to retreat. Them, alongside with the mecha-micro armor they wore, were instantly vaporized. There was nothing left, not even their bones. They were completely obliterated. Such a terrifying might truly invoked boundless chill and fear in the hearts of people. The originally tight formation was now slackened as a huge gap appeared. The entire formation appeared to be crumbling. With just a single strike, chaos descended. The giant mechanical monster took large strides over. Each of his steps caused an explosive bang as it rapidly closed the distance. It showed no signs of its earlier slowness. A flood of particle storms gushed out. The chest of the mechanical giant was actually a nuclear fusion furnace that was akin to a small sun. Boundless light and heat converged into energy beams and shot out from the furnace. Everywhere the destructive beams passed, the surroundings would be scorched, as all things within would crumble apart completely, not leaving any traces of their existence. It was like a storm of absolute destruction. The attacking team, which originally possessed the advantage, was now in a dire situation. They appeared utterly defeated, no longer able to obstruct the mechanical monster's advance. How could this be? Unable to block it, we can't block it. The mechanical giant is about to topple the Great Wall University. Exclamations rang out. Feng Lin's expression was extremely heavy. This mechanical monster was capable of such transformations, yet it held back previously. Clearly, it wanted to catch everyone unaware for an opportunity to cause huge destruction. This was a killing move it wanted to use to topple the Great Wall University. Because it was obstructed by the steel wall and the cultivators in the attacking formation, it had no choice but to unleash it. For a foe to reveal a killing move so early should be a good thing, strategically speaking. However, for those facing the mechanical monster head-on on the battlefield, this feeling wasn't good at all. This simply filled everyone with despair. There was no way to block it at all. We have to think of something to obstruct the mechanical giant. We cannot allow it to get near to the Great Wall University. We cannot retreat. From within the despair, incomparable conviction rose in their hearts. In a short few instances of exchange, their wills were aligned. As soldiers of the Great Wall Army, they had no path of retreat. They couldn't retreat. The location they were in was the edge of humanity's star region. Behind them were the territories of humanity. If they retreated, who would be able to stop these alien invaders from attacking their territories? They had no one behind them to depend on, they had no path for retreat. We absolutely cannot retreat. Get lost for me. Numerous voices of anger rang out in the starry space, filled with unyielding rage. These cultivators all had red faces from the exertion. They unleashed the entirety of their energy as shocking waves of power gushed forth from them. Flames, lightning, wind. The empty space was filled with torrents of energy flows, gushing outwards. It was like a storm had instantly engulfed the mechanical giant, wanting to obliterate it completely. Everyone gave it their all. Their attacks caused sparks to be emitted upon impact against the mechanical giant as it trembled under the onslaught of attacks. This was especially so it had no way to change its size. The people of the attacking team were like ants trying to shake a tree, rushing over, not knowing what was a retreat. Many of them unleashed the entirety of their strength and were completely drained. They no longer had any stamina left to fight. Numerous reinforcement flying shuttles flew over, fetching the exhausted ones back to the Great Wall University for recovery. But the nuclear fusion furnace at the chest of the mechanical giant seemed to contain endless energy. It blasted out particle storms that engulfed everything ferociously, sweeping through the surroundings. Regardless of flying shuttles or cultivators, all of them were on the verge of collapse upon contact. They were facing the danger of death constantly. Let alone resisting, it was already extremely difficult for them to protect themselves. If this continued, defeat was for sure. There would be no other ending. Not only could the giant steel wall not block the advance of the mechanical giant, but the cultivators of the attacking team were also beaten into retreat constantly. The situation grew increasingly dangerous. Is it really going to end like this? We can't block it anymore. All our efforts ultimately ended up in nothing. Wherever it was, on or off the battlefield, the hearts of everyone who saw this scene were shaken. The tight formation got more and more lax, it was about to crumble. Feng Lin stared at the changes on the battlefield. His expression also became incomparably heavy. The three teams of formations, defense, attack, and killing, they were supposed to work together and cover for each other. If the attacking team couldn't injure this mechanical giant heavily and reveal a flaw, it would be impossible for the third team, the killing formation team, to do anything. Feng Lin might have killing weapons such as the crimson gold cinnabar pill, but right now before this mechanical giant, it was like trying to pour a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It was difficult for him to deal a critical strike. What should they do? The situation entered a predicament, they couldn't retreat nor advance. It caused all of them to feel a sense of helplessness. Feng Lin's mind spun rapidly, trying to think of a strategy to break the situation. The body of the mechanical giant was overly huge, what sort of methods could he use to deal heavy injuries to it? One must know that right now, the steel wall was basically already useless. Wait a moment. Feng Lin's heart suddenly stirred as he glanced at the giant wall. This wall was extremely large. Other than defense, it could be used to cause destruction too. If this steel wall completely exploded, it would be akin to a giant bomb that could shake the starry space. At this moment, Feng Lin saw a ray of hope to turn the situation. Chapter 417, Humanity would win for sure. The gigantic wall could be used for obstruction and also destruction. This mechanical monster might be terrifying and had a huge body, but it was nothing compared to the gigantic steel wall. It was terrifying for ants to shake a tree. But what would happen if a mountain were to crumble on a tree? Even if it was a gigantic tree, it would most probably shatter from the impact. Even though the mechanical giant's body was exceptionally tough, if such a huge object like the gigantic wall were to crumble on it, the impact could surely engulf it completely. This was the only ray of hope, seeing the mechanical giant rushing over. Feng Lin's heart stirred when he thought of this. The situation was extremely tense. After careful consideration, this seemed to be the only way to turn the situation. The people of the attacking team were already on the verge of collapse. At this moment, they had no time to think further. He had to act immediately. He no longer hesitated and let out a roar, "Don't resist it head-on, that would only be sacrificing yourselves in vain. Try your best to blast the gigantic wall apart." What? Destroying the wall? How can we do this? If the wall is gone, wouldn't the Great Wall University be directly before the mechanical giant? There would be nothing to obstruct it then. Everyone in the attacking team wasn't willing to give up their position so easily. They wanted to defend it to the end. Feng Lin's voice rang out once more, repeating his command. His spirit force also transmitted his message to everyone's mind. The power of this mechanical giant is too great. Given our strength, we would only be courting death if we fight it head-on. Don't sacrifice yourself stupidly for a moment of impulse. The giant wall is a dead object. If it couldn't block the giant, it's no different from trash. Since that's the case, we might as well make use of it to heavily injure the giant instead. Attacking formation, all of you have already done very well. Now, just obey my orders and destroy the gigantic wall to heavily injure the mechanical giant. And next, leave everything to our killing formation team. Making use of trash? Some people fell silent after hearing that. When they saw the mechanical giant rushing over like the wall wasn't a factor at all, they couldn't help but admit that Feng Lin's words were logical. The disparity in strength was clear for all to see. Enough brute strength could overcome everything. This was something no one could change. They had already done their best, yet it was tough for them to avoid falling into a dangerous predicament. Let's get started. This is the only method left. I hope that we would really be able to injure the mechanical giant heavily after destroying the wall, allowing our brothers and sisters in the killing formation to destroy it once and for all. The genetic powers of those in the attacking team were all very powerful ones. Their arrogance naturally exceeded others as well. They worked together only to be forced into retreat. This made them extremely unwilling to accept this. Strength, only with sufficient strength would they be able to cleanse the humiliation they received today. They clenched their fists tightly. Since their formation was already in chaos, they decided to make things more chaotic then. All of them issued even more attacks to vent their emotions. Particle blast. Extermination bomb. Pyrolysis cannon. The genetic powers combined with the weapons of science and technology, blasting the gigantic wall, shattering the structure within. Boom. The earth trembled. Spiderweb-like cracks appeared on that originally thick and sturdy wall, and it continuously widened. The gigantic wall started to crumble. The mechanical giant's stance instantly became unsteady, its body began to sway. Everyone found an opportunity to catch their breath. All of them let out respective roars of anger. Explode. Everyone roared together. Instantly, all the genetic powers converged and blasted into the wall, shattering the basic structure within. All the particles within were blasted into a fine powder. The shockwave spread out, destroying everything it came in contact with. The sturdier a substance was, once it imploded from the microscopic layer, the more frightening would the energy diffusal effect be. It was enough to distort space. Although the materials were ordinary earth and stones, the explosion was akin to one by the most terrifying bomb. The energy continued to spread, extending through the ground beneath everyone's feet. It was like adding gasoline to the fire, the tremors spread extremely rapidly. Bang, bang, bang. Like dominoes, parts of the walls crumbled one after another, blown up by the genetic powers. The body of the wall that was over 300 kilometers long had shattered. What concept was this? The dust and grit were picked up by gusts of wind and scattered through the starry space. They were like storms of sand that flew about, instantly buffeting and engulfing the mechanical giant. Intense collision sounds rang out, resulting in resplendent sparks that sputtered. The cultivators who were the ones attacking also had faces filled with shock. Let's leave quickly. After unleashing all their strength, the cultivators didn't wait to see the result. They instantly turned and fled, wanting nothing more than to distance themselves away from the exploding wall as far as possible. The gigantic wall turned into cosmic sandstorms, engulfing the mechanical giant. The collision resulted in an extremely chaotic scene. For a time, the situation was a complete mess. Under the power of the sandstorms, all technological surveillance abilities lost their effect. The scene now resembled the Big Bang. gray dyed the entire space around here. The scene was truly terrifying to the extreme. Has it succeeded? Would the mechanical giant be destroyed just like this? Let's hope so. Many gazes were filled with nervousness, staring at the scene here. Nobody could put down the worries in their hearts. Impossible. Feng Lin didn't share the naive thoughts of these people. The body of the mechanical giant was constructed from unknown alloys, and the toughness exceeded the strongest technology of humanity. How could the sandstorms created from ordinary material truly kill it? It was basically insufficient. The true arduous battle had only just begun. It's about time. It's already very difficult for the warriors and students to combine forces and achieve this result to such an extent. We can let them return now. That's right. It's about time for us to act. The elders of the Great Wall University had their sharp gazes locked onto the sandstorms as they mumbled. Wait. At this moment, the Star Battle Marshal spoke. There's still one team that hasn't acted yet. They have already made preparations to act. If we tell them to leave now, their hearts to battle might be affected and there might be a shadow cast on them in the future, resulting in them finding it hard to advance their cultivation bases any further. These people are all seeds of humanity's future. We cannot neglect this. After the other marshals heard this, they had looks of contemplation on their faces as they nodded. All right then. However, we have to pay close attention. Once the situation turns dire for them, we must act immediately to save them. We cannot afford to be careless. After the elders came to a consensus, they began to pay closer attention to the battlefield. The sandstorms raged on, and the scene was utter chaos. Feng Lin stood together with Zhao Yui and the others as they observed the situation, not daring to be careless at all. Ripple. A golden beam of light suddenly flashed. Its piercing rays were like a long sword that cleaved apart the chaos, illuminating the darkened starry space. A sturdy figure slowly moved, forcibly pulling apart and wading out from the sandstorms, before standing in front of everyone. After enduring the intense impact, the mechanical giant's body was full of holes. Sparks emitted from all parts of his body, and the shell on its chest had been blasted off. It was heavily injured. But even so, a ferocious aura as heavy as a mountain exuded from it, making it hard for people to muster the courage to face it. Staring at the exposed energy furnace on the chest of the mechanical giant, Feng Lin narrowed his eyes. One couldn't help but say that the damage caused by the gigantic wall crumbling apart was beyond his expectations. A ray of hope truly appeared. In that case, what were they waiting for? His voice spread out via his spirit force, filled with the battle intent to resist. His words were like unquenchable blazing fire. Everyone in the killing formation team, the brothers and sisters in the defense formation and attacking formation have perfectly accomplished their missions. Now, it's about time for us to retaliate. Kill them all. Humanity would win for sure, humanity would win for sure, humanity would win for sure. He shouted out loud 3 times, encouraging the hearts of people. His voice reverberated in all directions, creating echoes through the area that lasted a long time. Humanity would win for sure. Humanity would win for sure. Humanity would win for sure. When fate spoke to a courageous warrior, you cannot resist the storm. The courageous warrior replied, I am the storm. Chapter 418, I am the storm. The body of the mechanical giant rushed out of the chaotic sandstorms. The core nuclear furnace on its chest began to emit fiery rays, setting off a particle storm that swept everything aside. The surrounding matter was completely shattered from the impact, even the most basic molecular structures were destroyed. The humans all faced the mechanical giant head-on. Their bodies were as straight as spears, their eyes were filled with resolve and an unshakable determination. A majestic voice echoed through the starry space, transmitted into the depths of everyone's heart via spirit force. We cannot give in. the brothers of the other formations have perfectly accomplished their mission. Now, it's time for us of the Killing Formation team to act. We cannot allow this mechanical giant to take a step inside the Great Wall University. Victory will belong to us, humanity. This was like the roar of the courageous warrior against fate. I am the storm. At this moment, on the battlefield, all cultivators and students could hear the words in their minds. Their hearts were actually long impassioned. Outside the battlefield, within the Great Wall University, countless people patiently observed the battle. They were all very clear that the final phase has arrived. Victory or defeat depended on a single action. Who would be victorious? Based on the effort of the students, could they really kill this terrifying mechanical giant? If they failed, they could only hope that their losses wouldn't be too severe. These cultivators were all the most elite out of geniuses of humanity. Even the sacrifice of one was a huge loss to humanity. But if they could be victorious, that would naturally be impressive to the extreme. It meant that humanity has truly nurtured a batch of truly powerful and valiant geniuses. With the dangerous experience of this battlefield, the tempering effect could allow the survivors to be born anew, growing stronger than ever before. Once they matured, in future race wars, they would definitely be able to become the cornerstone of humanity. Although they felt that victory was impossible, their hearts were still filled with anticipation and hope. Countless gazes gathered on the battlefield, staring at each and every change, locking onto each figure. What do you prepare to do next? At this moment, Zhao Yui asked. Feng Lin calmly smiled, this mechanical giant is so terrifying. It's impossible if we want to destroy it directly based on our strength. We have to focus our attacks on its weakness to turn the impossible into possible. In truth, the mechanical giant is already injured. Right now, we have a 30% chance of victory. Flaw? What flaw? Zhao Yui involuntarily felt curious. The people of the true martial society behind her also glanced over. Do you see that solar furnace on its chest? Feng Lin didn't reply but counter-asked another question instead. Zhao Yui nodded. It was impossible for her not to be able to see such a huge thing. Feng Lin then continued, if my guess isn't wrong, that's where the energy core of the mechanical monster is located. The body gains boundless energy through nuclear fusion technology, or given its size, it would basically be impossible for it to move freely. This solar furnace is the crux of its existence, but it also is its greatest flaw. Tell me, what do you think the result would be if we can destroy that energy core completely? When Zhao Yui heard this, her eyes instantly brightened. She finally understood where Feng Lin's confidence came from. Before this, he asked everyone to destroy the gigantic wall. Most probably, he already had this plan in mind. If they really succeed in destroying the solar furnace, the power released would be so great that the gigantic body of the mechanical monster would instantly be blasted apart. However, although this sounded simple, it was extremely difficult to achieve. The solar furnace seemed like an easy target, but in truth, the temperature there reached several thousand degrees Celsius high. Any attacks targeting there would instantly be vaporized. It wouldn't be so easy to destroy it. How do you plan to destroy it? She asked in a heavy voice. Help me gain some time. I have a method that can instantly destroy the solar furnace, but I have to have enough time to get close to its body. Feng Lin replied. I see. In that case, leave this to us. I have a killing move named the True Martial Tyrant Body. I can transform into a gigantic law body and can help you gain roughly about 10 minutes worth of time. Zhao Yui replied. You will be the main attacker, I will grab the opportunity to destroy the solar furnace. Feng Lin nodded. Within a short time, the two of them decided on a strategy. After cooperating for such a long time, the two of them naturally had mutual understanding and confidence in each other. In such a dangerous situation, they couldn't care too much. This was originally already a battle that was extremely tough to win. They were the weaker side. If they still hesitate now, they wouldn't be able to find any chance of victory at all. Let's begin. Upon seeing that the mechanical giant was about to free itself completely, Feng Lin called out. Zhao Yui nodded her head. Her body trembled, and an instant later, thick clouds of qi and blood aura emitted from her delicate-looking frame, congregating together to form a true martial law body over 100 feet tall. Her face, which was that of the law body, had a stately look to it, like it was an immortal or Buddha that descended from the sky, exuding an unprofanable prestige. Her qi and blood were like fire. The temperature around her boiled, causing ripples in the air, exuding a heavy pressure. Boom, boom, boom. Zhao Yui stepped over, causing the ground to tremble. Our big sister has already gone all out. We cannot fall back. That's right. The members of our true martial society don't know fear. Kill. 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 The true martial society was a martial arts society. Martial artists are all people with strong wills and hot blood. They followed Zhao Yui's incarnation and rushed towards the mechanical giant. Rumble. Fist upon fist collides. The law body fought directly head-on against the mechanical giant. She didn't use any energy attacks, choosing to use brute force to contend against her opponent instead. One of her hands was yin, the other was yang. Her stances revolved and changed rapidly, performing the great circle of Tai Chi. Her movements were as agile as spirit snakes dancing, and when she stayed stationary, she was as stable as an old turtle entrenching itself, as solid as Mount Tai. Her punches were ferocious to the extreme, unleashing additional force with each attack. Each of her punches was like heavenly pillars slamming forward, causing the body of the mechanical giant to sway. The momentum of the mechanical giant was stopped as well. The other members of the true martial society also coordinated with her attacks, launching their own. Their auras gushed forth, controlling the energy in the area. Lightning thunder explosion punch. Windwheel leg. 3000 blazing fire fist. Wind, fire, thunder, lightning, the might of each attacks gushed forth, slamming into the mechanical giant, causing its gait to be unsteady as the balance got broken. Its body turned somersaults in the air as it swayed unsteadily. For a time, the attacks of the mechanical giant was completely blocked. The members of the true martial society have acted. Members of the mechanical manufacturing society follow me and rush out. Members of the biochemical manufacturing unit, rush out. Quantum cannons roared, emitting beams of white light that were as thick as pillars. Destruction was present everywhere the beams passed by. 10 over figures stood in the air, supporting each other and forming a formation. Their genetic powers melded together, stirring up the starry space, causing gusts of yellow wind akin to sandstorms to manifest. The sandstorms contained great corrosive properties, and once they came in contact with the mechanical giant, holes would appear in the alloy shell due to the corrosiveness. The numerous human figures from the biochemical manufacturing unit each exuded different auras, constituting an attacking formation. All of them rushed forward with no fear. Eagle eyes, tiger claws, wolf fangs, each of them had an inhuman characteristic. Their bodies were altered through genetic engineering, but their ferociousness undoubtedly surpassed that of ordinary humans. The mechanical giant was heavily surrounded. Attacks blasted towards it from all directions, aiming at its weaknesses. It was bombarded so badly that its core vulnerabilities were revealed. I am the storm, we are the storm. At this moment, the eyes of all the warriors of humanity were brimming with killing intent. Their attacks were like the storm, a flurry of madness. Feng Lin surveyed the situation and his eyes shone like torches. The attacks launched by the human warriors seemed ferocious, but this could only be maintained for a short period of time. The core of the mechanical giant hasn't been damaged at all. There was a limit to their strength. If their strength was exhausted, they would no longer have the capability to battle. It was difficult for a storm to destroy a giant mountain. Since that's the case, let me add fire to the storm then. Let's destroy the mountain, let's make the ground collapse. Feng Lin's heart stirred. He leaped up into the air and joined the storm on the battlefield, advancing courageously. Now, the time for us humans to retaliate has come. Chapter 419, Dangerous Retaliation. Bang, bang, bang. The cannons shot everywhere, and the electromagnetic interference was present in the air too. The whole energy fields were in complete chaos. All sorts of mythological gene powers fused together, forming a huge web that distorted the surrounding space. The larger the body, the larger the target. The mechanical giant was like an elephant that was being ganged up upon by millions of ants. It was so infuriated that it was roaring in rage. Its 1,000 eyes shone with red light. The rays that shot out frenziedly sought to slice apart everything around it. Numerous figures dodged in the air. If one was the slightest bit careless, they would instantly be vaporized. A desperate struggle of life and death had begun between the two races. The cultivators depended on their numerical advantage and finally managed to forcefully obstruct the mechanical giant. However, the price was. Each cluster of explosive fireworks in the starry space represented the loss of life of a precious cultivator. The cruel war was moving and tragic, the amount of sorrow could form a river. And in the flames of war, a figure swam against the currents and flew over. Monkey King Domain. Feng Lin spread open his hands as an invisible domain activated. He instantly gained control over the surrounding space and the energy within. The red rays of light was like encountering a true barrier. When they shot over, they instantly landed on a smooth surface akin to a mirror and ricocheted all around, colliding with the other red rays before dispersing silently. The flames of war were surging violently, akin to a vortex. Feng Lin walked into it, yet none of them could harm him. He was calm and unhurried. However, the paleness of his face indicated that he wasn't as relaxed as he appeared to be. According to the basic rule of the universe, energy is constant. If he wanted to cancel out the energy, he himself had to pay a huge price. The Monkey King domain was activated to the maximum. Each passing moment caused a great consumption of energy. Feng Lin gritted his teeth as he placed a 9 revolutions birth transformation pill into his mouth, to rapidly replenish his origin chi. His eyes stared fixedly at the energy core on the chest of the mechanical giant. It's getting nearer, it's getting nearer. As long as he could destroy this energy core, victory would be before their eyes. This was the time to go all out in retaliation. Feng Lin increased his speed once more, rushing over. The energy core was like a huge fireball, radiating piercing rays of light and heat. Yet, in Feng Lin's perspective right now, the piercing rays of light seemed to be light that was filled with hope. Break for me! He roared loudly. His metal cudgel took form in his hand and expanded rapidly, becoming a metal pillar 100 meters long. He infused strength that was roughly equal to 30,000 caddies as he ruthlessly swung it out, wanting to shatter the energy core completely, causing it to explode. Upon sensing danger, several eyes of the mechanical giant turned over. It gathered its energy and its gear clicked together, instantly unleashing a blast of ferocious energy that could instantly vaporize any bodies of flesh and blood. Not even dregs would remain. However, it wasn't easy to reach this step. Feng Lin already had no way to retreat. No. It was impossible for him to retreat. Once he missed this opportunity, there would never be another like it. In an instant, Feng Lin activated the power of his Monkey King gene to its greatest degree, stimulating his stone monkey body to the max, wanting to forcefully endure the violent counterattack by the mechanical giant. This voice was cold and clear, filled with force and determination. Turtle Snake Fist. Stepping out with large strides, Zhao Yui drew the circles of Tai Chi with her hands, powered by her chi and blood, blocking before Feng Lin. She continued spinning about, completely obliterating the attacks launched by the mechanical giant. The rays of red light were drawn into the circles and clashed heavily against the chi and blood, and ended up being dispersed. Just carry on moving ahead. I will help you block all its attacks. Remember, this secret art of mine can only gain you 10 minutes. Zhao Yui's voice was heavy, ringing out in his ears. Feng Lin nodded. Everything could be expressed clearly even without words, given their understanding of each other. Time was precious, they couldn't afford any delay. There was no time for Feng Lin to reply verbally. He used his heart monkey force to reinforce his body, rushing ahead while enduring the blazing heat of the particle storm. The distance in the starry space was extremely long. 10 minutes was in reality very short, he couldn't afford to waste any of it. Where would he have the time to chat? The energy core was like a sun radiating boundless light and heat. Great Sage Cudgel Arts. Feng Lin's body bent like a bow in the air. His hands grabbed hold of the metal cudgel and unleashed the entirety of strength his body was capable of mustering, slamming it downward while infusing his heart monkey force within. Woo! The measureless divine metal cudgel brimmed with overwhelming force, wanting to shatter everything. So what even if the target is a sun? Under my metal cudgel, it would also shatter with a single strike. With this thought in mind, he went all out with unstoppable momentum. Bang! Just when it looked like the metal cudgel was about to shatter the miniature sun, the sound of a collision suddenly rang out. The metal cudgel seemed to have slammed into an invisible barrier and was obstructed. The powerful rebound force bounced back, causing his hands to tremble violently from the impact. Only now did Feng Lin discover to his shock that at the exterior of the energy core, there was still a layer of thick protective barrier. It felt as sturdy as a wall of divine steel and was extremely difficult to shake. His heart instantly sank to the bottom of the valley. He didn't expect the mechanical giant to still have this card up its sleeve. This caused his earlier plan to edge closer to the boundary of failure. But at such a step, there was already no way for him to give up. Although there were many cultivators, if they wanted to depend on their strength to destroy the mechanical giant head-on, it was completely impossible. The difference in quality wasn't something that could be mitigated by quantity. Only by triggering the energy core to explode would the interior of the mechanical giant really be destroyed. Only then would they have a ray of hope at victory. But at this moment, they encountered yet another predicament. However, the absolute retaliation of the warriors and cultivators had already begun. He definitely wouldn't allow himself to be the one holding them back, leading to their efforts becoming for naught. If not, all their earlier hard work and sacrifices would become meaningless. The invisible baleful chi rose up from the depths of his heart. Unknowingly, Feng Lin's vision began to only see red. The great sage equal to heavens. Under the augmentation from his spirit force, his power began to increase greatly. 3 times, 10 times, 50 times. He retracted the Monkey King domain completely and used all his heart monkey force to enhance his power. In an instant, his body expanded. He felt an energy flow akin to lava circulating and churning within it. This feeling made him feel as though he was about to explode from the overwhelming might. Ha! Feng Lin shouted and displayed his cudgel arts in an unprecedentedly crazed manner. The dance of his cudgel caused many faint shadows to be created, and the force within his blows wanted to completely destroy everything before him. Bang, bang, bang. The cudgel slammed into the invisible barrier with the force of a gale storm. It was like beating upon a drum, causing reverberations to ring out unceasingly. When that invisible barrier was attacked, countless sparks appeared due to the impact. A barrier in the shape of a semicircle appeared, blocking the blazingly hot energy core on the mechanical giant's chest. The powerful force from Feng Lin's attack caused the nuclear fusion energy core to display a controlled state. The power within the energy core actually reached a state where it was not in any way inferior to the power within the entire body, but no matter how tough its defenses were, Feng Lin had no thoughts of retreating. He mustered up even more power and continued attacking unceasingly, like quicksilver spilling over the ground. The stronger his heart was, the greater the power he would be able to unleash. The spiritual stone monkey had another name as the heart monkey. The true essence of the heart monkey force was precisely this. 60, 70, 80 times. It seemed that he had reached a certain limit and could sense the true essence of his mythological genes. Feng Lin felt that he was now even more compatible with the Sun Wukong mythological path, and that he had transformed into Sun Wukong himself. Although he knew he shouldn't do so, Sun Wukong had still wreaked havoc through the celestial courts, regardless of the law and natural morality. Very soon, his power was enhanced to 100 times mark. Upon reaching this stage, his power broke the limits of quality and leaped to another tier. Ka-cha. This creaking sound was like a melody from the heavens to Feng Lin's ears. He glanced over and saw that the extremely tough energy barrier had a shockingly obvious crack on it. The crack continued widening and expanding unceasingly. The dawn of victory had already arrived. Chapter 420, Somersault Cloud. Transforming into the devil ape. He suddenly entered a type of miraculous heart state and forged a deeper innate connection with the monkey in the legends. His mythological genes also seemed to be stimulated and became more active. The strength of the genes seemed to have greater synergy with him now, allowing him to control their strength as he desired. The greater his heart, the more powerful his strength would be. With a breath of ruthless chi deep in his chest, this ruthlessness would never dissipate even if tens of thousands of years passed. Feng Lin's eyes were bloodshot. He exuded bloodthirst and became incomparably berserk. Was there something blocking his way? In that case, he would split apart mountains if mountains were blocking him, he would sever rivers if rivers obstructed him. And if the sky wanted to stop him, he would shatter the skies. The metal cudgel waved about as though Feng Lin didn't know the meaning of fatigue. It violently smashed forth, venting the rage in his heart. It was like nothing in this world could block him from advancing. It wasn't easy for them to reach this point. How could he allow all their earlier efforts to be wasted? Feng Lin didn't know fatigue, and he didn't know what was giving up either. Gradually, his state of heart reached a crazed state. He wouldn't stop or rest until he completed his objective. The chi and blood in his body surged up, churning like lava. He was on fire as waves of heat radiated from him. The vitality sensor of the micromecha armor began to flare red as Feng Lin's temperature exceeded 100 degrees. If this continued, his entire person might die due to his blood being evaporated. However, if he didn't become mad and go all out, the situation wouldn't change. Only in madness would he be able to see a ray of hope. Under the enhancement of the heart monkey force, his power rapidly broke through. When the amplifying extent exceeded 100 times, it was like he had reached a new level. Even illusionary energy could affect reality. Woo! With a wave of his cudgel, his movements seemed ordinary. There was no sound emitted, nor were there any afterimages. Only ripples akin to flowing water was produced from the force of the metal cudgel. This was a distortion of space due to the vast amount of energy present. A cudgel breaking space apart. The energy barrier in space was distorted and broken. The clear breaking noise echoing through the air was like a melody from the heavens. Feng Lin's bloodshot eyes turned over. The extremely tough protective barrier now had a crack on it. Although it was just a crack that was barely visible to the naked eye, it meant that the sturdy energy barrier was now broken. From the crack, the blinding light from within was like the bright ray of hope representing the dawn. Good chance. They must not miss out on this opportunity as it wouldn't come again. Feng Lin naturally grabbed hold of this hard-to-come-by opportunity and acted instantly. The measureless divine metal cudgel transformed in his hand, becoming a tiny embroidery needle that shot right into the crack. Grow, grow, grow. In an instant, under the agitation of Feng Lin's spirit force, the cudgel rapidly expanded, becoming a thick pillar that forcefully expanded the crack. The crack continued to expand, like a huge spider web. The light and flames within the energy core flowed out. It was incomparably hot, capable of vaporizing metals. Although Feng Lin had a micromecha armor, the highest tier of humanity technology, he could still feel the waves of heat. The energy in its body rapidly dispersed, and the mechanical giant could sense the danger. Hundreds of eyes stared over, glinting with a dangerous light. It ignored everyone else and manifested an attack that caused countless light rays to congregate together, slashing over like a saw. Not good. Feng Lin suddenly felt something was wrong. Monkey King Domain. His heart monkey force enveloped the area around him. A gigantic transparent sphere continued to expand, forming a corporeal barrier that completely isolated him from anything outside. The light rays shot over, but they soon split apart and bounced off the barrier. Their trajectories turned awry as the light rays clashed with each other. Resplendent sparks were emitted, yet this beautiful scene was also an extremely dangerous one. Feng Lin focused his full strength on controlling his Monkey King domain to protect himself. The metal cudgel in his hand unleashed even quicker blows at the energy barrier, causing the crack to widen continuously. As the protective barrier around the energy core was broken down gradually, the energy within it also couldn't be controlled. There were constant streams of ions being ejected out inadvertently. Once the protective barrier was completely destroyed, the energy furnace would instead become an uncontrollable source of nuclear energy. The particles within the energy core began to escape from the cracks. The heat was unbelievable, like it could melt everything and blast everything into smithereens. A sense of danger surfaced in his heart. Feng Lin instinctively dodged. But because of this, he could see the hope of destroying this mechanical giant. The leakage of energy was becoming increasingly severe. No matter how vast the energy reserves of the mechanical giant was, it would become a pile of trash metal sooner or later, nothing but space garbage. It wouldn't be able to move and would no longer be of any threat. And seeing how great the reaction of the mechanical giant was, the more ascertained Feng Lin was in his conjecture. The energy furnace was its critical point. Once it was damaged, it would be in danger of being destroyed. Since this was so, there was no reason to give up now. Feng Lin gave it his all to resist the energy impact as he rushed forward. The cudgel in his hand spun like a tornado, violently slamming into the energy barrier. Streams of light rapidly gathered once more, wanting to reform the barrier. However, it wasn't easy for Feng Lin to find the flaw. How could it allow the energy barrier to be repaired? He aimed all his attacks at the crack, continuing to unleash blows at it. His spirit force glowed with a bright white light. And upon sensing the structure of the energy barrier, he specifically aimed for the weakness as he attacked. Although the mechanical giant had the function of auto-repair by regulating the energy in its body, the structure of the protective barrier was completely smashed apart by the metal cudgel, rendering the auto-repair useless. Not only did the crack show no signs of being repaired, but it grew even wider instead. The amount of heat increased, manifesting a particle storm. It was so bright that it was eye-piercing. This particle storm could vaporize all substances and was like a powerful current that could run rampant. It was incomparably terrifying. The mechanical giant felt that something was wrong. Its thousands of eyes shone with a bright red light as it grew even crazier. Numerous golden tentacles resembling giant pythons shot out, wanting to twine around Feng Lin. All its eyes were staring fixedly at Feng Lin. It revealed a different biological emotion that was different from before. It was filled with boundless rage and killing intent, wanting nothing more than to tear Feng Lin into pieces. The thousands of tentacles formed a web that continued to twist. Anyone who fell into the web would be instantly lacerated. Without realizing it, Feng Lin already arrived at a distance less than 100 meters from the mechanical giant. Given how near he was, he could only depend on himself. However, he had no fear at all. The more enraged the mechanical giant got, the more it meant that he had grasped its weakness. If he could really destroy the energy core, no matter how fierce the mechanical giant was, it would be destroyed a moment later. Monkey King Domain. His heart monkey force permeated the area, gaining control of all material energy here. Strands of his spirit force resembled invisible hands that caught and controlled the ions that were spraying out. He used them to enhance his mobility instead, absorbing their momentum, forming an impact that allowed his body to increase in speed as he shuttled through space. As the metal tentacles closed in, he continued to dodge from the gaps. It was like he was dancing on a steel wire. The moment he was the slightest bit careless, he would instantly be lacerated into pieces. However, Feng Lin's body was extremely agile and nimble. He kept twisting and rolling through the air, transforming into a beam of silver light that moved about. Despite the dangerous situation, he was still as calm as ever. There was no gravity in space. Hence, there was no distinction between up and down. He agilely somersaulted and rapidly sidestepped. A fiery cloud took form beneath him as long streams of ions and flames trailed behind. The trail was extremely resplendent and didn't dissipate even after a long time. Controlling such energy particles was also something he had thought of randomly when he had been in a pinch earlier. However, the effect was remarkably good. The Monkey King domain actually had this type of usage. Feng Lin felt like he was suddenly enlightened. Could this be the legendary somersault cloud of Sun Wukong in the mythology?